and after she landed, the billowing chute dragged her 50 feet. Her feet were bare, her face scratched, and she wore a grin. With one hand over her head, she waved her D-ring parachute handle. As concerned trainees circled around, Hazel explained, "I popped the stick, and before I knew it was soaring out over the windscreen. My seatbelt latch came unfastened." Hazel wasn't shaken. She'd been preparing to walk back to the base when the Jeep arrived. Not fastening a seatbelt securely was a rookie mistake, and she wasn't a rookie. She had more flying experience than the others in her class. She berated herself for what might cost her the training program. Most of all, she dreaded the disappointment her failure would bring to the Chinese community back home who had sponsored her and paid for her training. She remembered the old men, members of the Chinese Benevolent Society, posing for photographs beside her after graduation from training for aerial combat in China. They were so proud. "A girl," they said to one another as if they had to repeat it aloud to believe it. A Chinese girl flying a plane and going to China to fight against the invading Japanese would bring honor to them all. So far, nothing had turned out as she'd hoped. There would be no honor to share with her benefactors, and, worst of all, worse than not being able to fly because there were no flying jobs for women, if she failed, her little sister and other girls like her would question whether they could accomplish their dreams. They might give up before they even tried, believing the cards were stacked against them in a world determined to keep them down. Hazel intended to show them that girls were just as capable as boys, if not more so. 1. Little Hero, 1920. Among all the marvels of modern invention, that which I am most concerned is, of course, air transportation. Flying is perhaps the most dramatic of recent scientific attainment. In the brief span of 30-odd years, the world has seen an inventor's dream first materialized by the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk become an everyday actuality. Amelia Earhart. On a street in Chinatown, Portland, Oregon, a cluster of children stood together, reluctant to go home. School had ended for the summer, and long twilights, too sweet to squander, allowed them to stay outside until bedtime. One, an 8-year-old girl with short black hair and a large, toothy smile, was called Hazel. "Beat you to the end of the corner!" she yelled, and bent forward with a hand on her knee. The girls stepped back to watch as the boys took their places in a line, each certain they would win this time. Hazel was only a girl, after all. Her older brother Harry bent down beside their younger brother Victor. Little sister Florence stood on the sidelines and called out, "Ready, set, go!" Hazel shot forward, pumping her legs and arms ferociously. Her hair flew across her face, her shoes slapped the pavement, and she smiled, reveling in her own speed. Reaching the corner, she hugged the lamppost and turned back toward the others, as one by one they joined her, huffing and bending over to catch their breath. The soft drone of an engine caused Hazel to look up. A yellow biplane, luminous against the darkening sapphire sky, seemed to float, pulled along by an invisible thread. As the other children walked away, Hazel watched the plane descending over the rooftops until it disappeared. What would it be like to be high up in the sky and alone, looking down on everyone? She imagined sailing over the city with the wind blowing her hair. Someday, she promised herself, she would fly. In 1920, the world had become obsessed with the new phenomenon of aviation. 17 years had passed since the Wright brothers took their first flight, and now families spent their Sunday afternoons at airfields watching airplanes spiraling nose first toward the earth. Crowds of thousands gathered at air shows to watch spellbound as pilots performed seemingly impossible twirls and loops.